Hello, everybody. Let's get these sound settings and all this happy stuff in order because I didn't plan, and that's why it's called Real Talk. So I'm kind of excited about that, actually. So let's see. We should send this out to people. So let's see. I've just been typing. Is anybody here? Oh, there are people here. That's great. How's everybody doing this morning? Uh, one of the funniest things. So I'm waiting for John right now, and I need to um, let's put this in the group. Let's invite some people to come hang out with us. That should be fun. Going live now with Brewton. And if anybody has topics, please share them so we can have something to fun to talk about. And I'm trying to send this to some people. And then we're gonna have fun. I was just exercising and I wasn't like fully prepared. But that's what the fun part about these Substack lives is like you just do it, right? Like get in there and just let it happen. So how's everybody doing? So I see Jack. Oh shit, my dad's here. Hi dad. How are you? Ram, Ram, Jack, Susan. How's everybody doing today? Does anybody have a topic that they'd like to talk about? There's been so much. Sometimes what I like to do, because John is so smart, he's the Bruton and the Bruton and Berry, and um, I like talking about some of his topics. Obviously, we've been talking about AI a lot lately, and that has been, of course, that's the most popular thing to talk about right now. And using it for our business is the most important thing. So let me see where John is. Oh, there is John coming. John,
Hey,
what's up, man? How are you?
I'm great. Finally, Substack's working on my computer and not my app. This is the first time that it's ever, for some reason, like it wasn't giving me that feature, and
Yeah,
so I was always like having to be like on the phone with the app, like on the. This is much better.
it's much better, but you know what's funny? Like it's still a narrow view only. Like
Yeah, I know they're getting better. They're
they
it's
are.
like itchy. Something kind of appealing about that.
It is appealing, and I think at some point the next feature will be to be able to share the screen, and then we can have like visuals and stuff. Although
Oh
you're
yeah, yeah. That would be great to be able to share charts and whatever, and walk people
yeah.
through how you do things. Like yeah, great.
And how are you? What's going on in your world? Are you prepared for the holiday insanity?
I am. Though I got really sick last week. We had a quinceanera, and then I was up very late helping to clean up after said quinceanera, and I just like man, I got knocked out last week. Like one of the kids got sick, and I was just like I'm still getting over it now. Like you can still like hear it in my voice and like see it in my eyes. I feel like 100% better, but like you know, so
Yeah, I hear it. Well, so look, we already have some, and guess what? My father is on the our LinkedIn
wow,
Live. I know.
cool.
I hit Dennis Berry Senior. I
Dennis
didn't know he
Berry
was on
Senior.
I didn't know he was on Substack. I
Hi,
can't see
Dennis's dad.
him.
That's great.
I know. So I didn't really again have a topic. I was hoping that some people would chime in. I did get a message from somebody,
Yes.
Matt
Maddie, yeah,
yesterday
Matt.
sent a message saying that he
Yeah.
was like excited to tune in, which was really
Yeah.
cool 'cause
I
we
think I
just started.
received a message from Matt too. Matt, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. And I see he's here again. Hello,
Yeah.
Matt.
Any questions, comments, or concerns, please feed them in there because we don't really know what we're going to talk about, but it's real talk. It's called Real Talk with Bruton and Berry. So what do you find interesting in the markets or in the world right now? What is your biggest like, wow, what a week it's been kind of thing?
Um, I mean, I'm not a really like a market prognosticator, I guess, but I would say this, my opinion, uh, GDP numbers just came in. I think the US grew at 4.2 or 4.3% in the third quarter. We're moving into a year where we're probably going to see interest rates going down. Um, uh, small cap stocks are performing much better over 2025 than prior years. The developing world is also doing performing much better. Um, I think it's a very healthy market. I think we're going to have a big boom in 2026, and I think talk of all this bubble stuff is just fear mongering, and I think there's a lot to suggest that 2026 is a really good year, and
Interesting.
which is not to say there aren't problems, which is no kind of a political comment whatsoever. I feel great heading into 26.
That's really interesting because that's definitely against the grain of the popular opinion, which I enjoy your point of view though. But it'll be interesting to see it play
I don't know.
out. I
Maybe
mean,
I'm
I
wrong. I
hope.
mean, maybe it's, just kind of that I don't know.
Yeah,
And it's
no,
not to say that some of these things don't end badly, but I'm saying, but I think some of them end very badly. But I think there is still a period of time. I I think there's a lot to suggest that that things are actually going very well, and 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 not a lot. I think there are long term worries and concerns that are valid, but I think we're nowhere close to understanding when those concerns are actually gonna kind of come home to roost.
interesting. Yeah, it's
That's
always
just me.
fun to watch it all play out in real time
Yeah.
because the media is really the crux of the problem. Like the
Yeah.
world, like if you go out and really
Yeah.
explore, like where I live,
Mhm.
and I go to the beach and you go around in nature. I lived in the mountains for most of my life, and it's like,
Yeah.
I go for a hike, and there's no war on a hike. I'm not saying there's not bad things happening. There's never been not bad things happening. As long as there's humans here, there's like bad things happening because there's people with small minds doing stupid things. But it's like there's also a lot of good things happening too,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what you focus on creates your experience in life. So
Yes.
and that you have a choice in. You don't have a choice if there's like a war 8,000 miles away from you, or
Mhm.
there's markets crashing around the world. We don't have that type of control, but you
Yeah.
have control on what you focus on. And
Yes.
that focus creates your experiences and ultimately your happiness, your inner peace, or whatever you want to call on. So that we have control of. So how do you choose to focus, and like what kind of outcomes do you want? I had a couple great meetings yesterday,
Mhm.
and one was with this woman who's probably going to become a client who she's
Cool.
like, so tell me about your coaching stuff. And I
Mhm.
don't really like even calling myself a coach. I'm more like a thinking partner, a critical
Uh-huh.
thinking partner. And I don't have these like, oh, for $3,000 for 90 days, you're going to have
Yeah.
this kind of outcome. I don't
Nope.
do that. What we want to do is get in some kind of alignment
Yeah.
with who you are, where you are, what you want to do, and like how are we going to get there?
Yeah.
And that could take like a couple days to find out, or it could take a couple decades to find out.
Mhm.
But what you're focusing on creates your outcomes.
Yes.
And so if you're focused on, like, she's playing corporate game right now. So
Mhm.
she's in the corporate game, and she's a woman, so she's like struggling with some of the boys club stuff.
Sure.
And so I'm like, well, maybe that's not what you're supposed to do right now.
Yeah.
She really, nobody ever said that to her before, and she's in her 50s also. And
Mhm.
so like seeing things differently creates different experiences.
Great.
And I think that's important for everybody here to understand. Is like, if you don't like the way things are right now, what are you thinking about? What are you doing? What are you watching? Gary Vee had a great thing. He took his iPods one day and he's just like,
Mhm.
you are what you listen to.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's
Well,
like,
I think that's actually an interesting. I think that's an interesting point, Dennis. I think I get very tired, and Gary has a whole thing about this too. The I get very tired of all of the media and kind of the larger popular conversation blaming the algorithm, like the algorithms are somehow out to get us. and Gary's the guy who I heard made this point, but I think it's hugely valid. The algorithm is a reflection of you. If you love basketball and uh going to your synagogue and yoga, and though you look at basketball stuff from synagogues and yoga, then like that's what your feed's going to be. And you love the markets and everything Tesla, then your feed's going to be filled with Teslas and stock charts. Like it's the algorithm is a reflection of you. And
Now,
now it wasn't at one, but yeah, but now they absolutely are. And I think it's uh it also reminds me, you were talking the what do you choose to focus on. There's Scott Galloway, professor at NYU. A lot of people like, no, I love him. I'll also say
love him.
all of his books are incredible. um but he has this really great take that he repeats kind of like all over the place, where he talks about how the 1990s what sold was Cindy Crawford and a can of Pepsi in the Super Bowl, and so it's basically like sex sells. And today what has transpired is that now anger and aggression and fear, that's the thing that has replaced Cindy Crawford and the can of Pepsi. Um, Not that still doesn't sell, but now it's fear. And so I think you make a good point that there's a uh you don't want to be uninformed, and you don't want to not have an appreciation for the really hard things that are happening in the world, but you also have to make a choice about what you're gonna take in and how you're gonna choose to think. So,
Yeah, and awareness is everything. Like understanding what's really happening, which you
yep,
don't understand because you understand what's being fed, what you're consuming,
right,
and they understand who you are.
yep,
Like they know exactly who you are, where you live, how much money you make, where your kids go to school, all these things, and
yep,
they feed emotion into that. So you keep tuning in, so they could sell ads and make money. So it's a
yes,
big funnel that everybody's in. You're like puppets in a, it's a puppet show. And
right,
if once you become aware of that, then the great news about that, because everybody focuses on the bad news about that, but the great news about that is you could change it at any time. And then you have to develop new ways of thinking, which is where neuroscience comes in. It's good. You have to
mhm,
create new neural pathways because
mhm,
we're used to, like, when you wake up and you turn on, your favorite political bullshit,
mhm,
and you start feeding, you're feeding the neural pathways are like getting deeper and deeper into your brain. This is all figurative,
huh, huh,
information.
mhm,
So you're conditioned to do all of that behavior, and the
mhm,
neural they go in here and they tickle
right,
your amygdala. It makes you angry and emotional and everything like that. But the good news is you can create new neural pathways, but it
yes,
doesn't happen overnight. It's taking you days, months, years, or even decades to create the ones that you're doing right now. And you know what's interesting about Scott Galloway? Because I want to talk. It's so funny you brought him on. He's
oh
on
yeah,
LinkedIn. He has like 800,000 followers there, and I just found
yeah,
him
it's
like a
phenomenal,
couple
yeah,
days
it's
ago
great,
there. But I've been listening to his videos, and he said something interesting. This will be an interesting conversation. I'd love to hear your take.
sure,
He said, and everybody listening, check this out. He
mhm,
said, boys and teens, they need to go out and drink more. And I was like, "What?"
yeah,
My story, I've been sober 22 years,
mhm,
and
yeah,
we, I was like, at first I was like, "What is he talking about?"
mm,
But the concept behind it is that these teens, for the first time in history, or in at least in the last measurable decades, where they've been measuring, alcohol and drug use with teens,
mhm, yeah,
is that,
it's going
the first
down,
time in, like, 50 years, it's slowing down or
yep,
actually get
yeah,
reversed.
Gen Z is drinking and doing less drugs, yeah.
Yes, but that sounds like great news. Of course, don't do drugs, don't drink. It's poison, it's gonna kill your life. But at the same
Mhm,
time, what his concept behind it was that they're sitting at home playing video games and
right,
eating shitty food. They're
right,
getting fat and unhealthy,
right,
and they're not learning how to talk to girls. They're not learning how to
yeah, they're not
have
socializing,
friend
yeah,
Yeah, they're not socializing. They don't know how to have relationships, have
Yeah.
confrontations, how to live and
Yeah.
communicate, and
Agreed.
that's a problem. So the drinking, I think, was part of a bigger message he was trying to send
Yeah.
about, like,
He talks about
socializing.
drinking a lot, I will say that. He's always talking about all his drinking. It's kinda interesting, but it's like, yeah. But anyway, but yes, I think it's a real I think it's a good point that he made. I think the socialization point's a really good one. I think that's,
Yeah, and how
he
to be a man. Like, he's big on
yeah,
how to be a man, which isn't
yeah,
popular by, like, the last, like, 10 years or whatever of, rhetoric where it's like, all the sexism and all that stuff, but that's not what we're talking about. But it's
no,
just about, like, how to be human and socialize
yeah,
and navigate relationships. Relationships are hard, whether you're, it doesn't, like, I've had relationships with women in 3 different languages, and
yep,
they're the same in every country around the world. They're really challenging. It doesn't matter what language you speak. They're you have to understand each other, and it takes time to do that. And if you're
mhm,
just
it does.
sitting at home playing video games and eating Domino's pizza and drinking Coca-Cola for
Man,
10 years, you're
man,
never
but
gonna.
Kenneth, Domino's is so good. Like, I love Domino's. Domino's is my favorite, like, franchised pizza pizza shop. But, all right, so I think I agree. I think, a number of things. Number one, Scott Galloway's also, which is really interesting on, like, on the he looks at kind of the 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 issue or crisis amongst boys in America and masculinity in America, and how to help with that, because he's very concerned about that, and has a lot of has put together a lot of really thoughtful statistics and things relative to that whole conversation. If you are interested in that conversation, folks, I would absolutely say go check out what he says about it, because I think he's really thoughtful. I find I agree. Don't agree with everything he says, but a lot of it. Yes, I think getting up out of playing video games and go socialize more, and do all of that. I think that's I think that's really important. Um, I also think maybe it's just fun to just, like, disagree with things. Like, I also think this. I think that video games are wonderful places, and online communities are wonderful for kids who are also socially awkward and have a hard time making friends, and they make friends all over the world. They that's where their people are. That's maybe where they're not judged. That's where they're which is not to say, okay, go live all your life in there. Yes, you have to go out and live in the rest of the world too. But I think that there's also I think that there's some benefit to to some of that. I think the larger question around, like, masculinity and what it means to be a guy, and everything. Certainly has been an evolution for me over my life. And I would say I'm really probably the most uh, masculine version of myself that I've ever been, or most, like, I don't know, like, I'm very uh and yeah, I really say that because, like, I'm more into sports than I've ever been into sports in my whole life, so I feel like that makes me, like, very, like, guy. Uh, but I think it's a really interesting, uh, conversation to have. I also think that my wife is from another culture. She's from Mexico, and so that's been
Mine
really
too.
yeah, exactly. So that's been really interesting to, like, learn, see a new culture, and understand. This is the first time I've really ever had a perspective on, like, non-American culture in my life, like consistent, like, an actual perspective that informs my day to day, and that's been great. And it's been uh uh fabulous. So
Yeah, me too. Oh, Anna, who I met with Anna yesterday, and
cool.
she's really awesome, and she's
Yeah.
very intelligent.
Yeah.
She said, "That's so interesting. What made you become more masculine, John?"
Hi, Anna. Um, what I don't know. I think I just um maybe work, maybe, I spent a lot of years in industrial manufacturing and, negotiating in this very kind of masculine, kind of male-led environment. I think, um, I think getting married, head of a household, becoming a father, thinking I have a daughter, thinking of myself as a male role model for my daughter. That's, makes me think about some things that I never really thought of, in my life. Um, but I don't know. I mean, my generation was really, uh, I'm 45, so just to set me against whoever else is on here, but like my generation was the first generation where, like, I had friends who, like, were outwardly, they came out of the closet or whatever, like, when I was in, like, middle school and high school and then college and whatnot, and so I kinda grew up, like, accepting, uh, homosexuality right along with heterosexuality. I myself have always been a very straight person, but I think I grew up with a that was the big story of my generation was that progression. I think probably a lot of us on here that was also that would hold. Um, and yes, I think it's just kind of probably influenced by that. And yeah, so I don't know. How about
Interesting.
you? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I've struggled with
Mm,
uh, that part of my life at all,
yeah.
really. Um, More just a little craziness when I was younger. But
Yeah.
but I wanna go back to what you were talking about with the video games and stuff, because I think that
Yeah.
that's a
Sure.
good conversation too. And I
Yeah.
really think that you're right. And what he asked, or what for those that weren't listening, John said that it's great. The video games are a great avenue for those who are awkwardly, uh, or who struggle with making friends or being social
Yeah.
or communicating or stuff like
I think
that.
it can be positive.
And I think that that's a great point. I think, if we were to break down any of the quote unquote problems in the world, like let's take video games, let's take
Uh-huh.
drugs and alcohol, or
Uh-huh.
porn, or food, or what are all the other addictions, right? So
Everything. Yeah.
any one of these things, even smoking. How did smoking start? They used to have these Native American, or who knows where it originated, thousands of
Hmm.
years ago. They had
Hmm.
ceremonies,
Yeah.
and they would every once in a while, I don't know the ceremony schedule because I wasn't there, but
Hmm.
they would have these ceremonies, and they would, like, dance around the fire, and they would have
Hmm.
these chants and stuff, and then they pass a pipe around and smoke, and then next year or next month or next week or whatever, they have another one and they smoke. Now you
Hmm.
buy cigarettes with chemicals and filters, and you smoke 3 packs a day. And then
Yeah.
same thing with alcohol. It was like, they made this stuff and you had to sip, "Wow, you have some alcohol," and then you pass that around. It was like there was like a ceremony around it, and it was fun, and it still can be. I'm not mad at alcohol. Like, alcohol is great.
Hmm.
It's like a release from care, boredom, and worry, and you hang out with friends and share it. You go to happy hour and stuff. I couldn't do that. I had to slam 4 bottles of red wine and a bottle of Jack and get an 8 ball. So I can't do that anymore. But food, you know what happens if you're really healthy and fit and strong and you eat well and your
Hmm.
body's metabolizing and you're running and lifting weights and building muscle and you have a
Yeah.
snippet bar, you know what happens? Nothing. Your
Yeah.
body metabolizes it, you poop it out, and then you're
Yeah.
fine. The
Yeah.
problem is excess. The same thing
Right.
with video games. Video games, my father, who's on here, we used to play Atari 40 years, whatever years ago,
Yeah.
and we played Atari and we played Pac-Man and, Breakout and whatever other games we played,
Hmm.
and we played that for a little while, half hour,
Yes.
hour, maybe we got out of hand a little, and then next weekend we played it again. In between, we were outside playing and eating healthy food and going to school and learning and doing we had life was a very it was more I don't know, is balance the word? Like, we were mindful is the word. Like, that's what
Hmm.
I would say is, like, when we were growing up, not to age ourselves too much, but I think we talked about this, but
Yeah.
everything with mindfulness. The term
Yeah.
mindfulness is relatively new because
Yes.
when we were growing up, everything was mindful. You walked to the bus stop, that was
Yeah.
mindful. You looked at the trees and the leaves, and you were skipping, and you looked at the cracks in the sidewalk. Now you're looking at your phone. So the problem isn't any of these technologies or bad foods or even smoking or
Mhm.
drinking. The problem is excess. It's always excess. So playing video games while you're sitting down, playing video games for 8 hours, 12 hours a day with headphones on, talking to people, not going outside, breathing, ordering food on Uber Eats, using
Yeah,
money, ordering it with money that you don't have on
right,
credit card. Like, these are
right.
the problems, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that was my
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think there's look, I think that there are, I think excess, especially in the direction of destructive behaviors, is hugely problematic. Certainly can see that having played out in my own life. But okay, so what about this? The obsessed create the world, the balanced consume it. I think yes
nice. I
to
like that.
yes
I've never
to
heard that.
it said somebody's quote. Somebody knows whose quote that is. It's not mine. It's some. It's like, is it a Jocko Willnick quote, or it's somebody? But but okay.
Say
So
it again.
yes.
The obsessed?
The
The
obsessed
obsessed?
create the world. The balanced consume it. And so now, so yes, don't be obsessed with eating all the Kit Kats. Don't be obsessed with eating all the pizza and the Kit Kats and the Cool Whip while playing the video games for 48 hours. And like, yes, definitely. And smoking cigarette. Like, this is definitely not a good
Yeah.
idea. But I think there's the one of the things I think about is like, there's, I've never been good at balance. I'm terrible at it. I have, and any success that I've really had in my life has been predicated on an unhealthy commitment to working on one thing and going really really hard at that thing, and I love that. I love that. And then once I have success with one thing and I'm going to start something new, then I'm going to go all in on that. And I love the learning and getting good at something new, and I love that. And I really, really struggle with the balance. So when I hear people talk about balance, I'm immediately like, I'm like, no, like, but, and then when I hear people with quotes related to like, uh, uh, like the impracticality of balance, I'm like, I love that quote. That person's right, but, and that's my own dysfunction and my own unhealthy stuff. But that's,
But balance is bullshit, right? I
yeah.
like to call it a
Yeah.
rhythm now. I'm the
Yeah.
same way. And you know what else? That Scott Galloway's it's so funny that you brought him up because
Yeah,
I
sure.
listened to him yesterday too.
Yeah. Cool.
And what he said was he's like, okay, you want to be really successful, you want to be in the top 10% or 1% financially or whatever, then
Yeah.
buckle down for 20 years.
Yeah.
20 years. That's what it takes. So I think the biggest problem isn't necessarily, yeah, like what is balance anyway, right?
Right.
Everybody, balance is different for everybody. I think
Yes.
the right word is the rhythm. You have to find a rhythm that works for you and your life
Yes.
based on what your goals are. This is
Yes.
my goal. Is working 2 hours a day going to get me there? Definitely not. If your goal is to be in the top 5 or 1% of the world, those people work all the time, but they're also happy. And
Yeah.
I think that there's another problem that isn't so much like, oh, are you working 16 hours a day? But what are you working on?
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Is it fulfilling? Is it something
Hmm.
you enjoy doing, or is it a
Yes.
grind? Is it raising your blood pressure and causing relationship problems and health problems and ruining your life just to make an extra
Mhm.
$10,000 a year or even $1 million a year? Your health's not worth it, which I don't think you appreciate until there's a health problem or you
Hey.
get a little older and see some friends die. So I don't know, but yeah, I think I was talking about this. If Anna is still on here, we were talking about it yesterday. It's like that. I think there's a false expectation of what success is and how long it takes to get there. Like it's not like everybody's watching Instagram reels and seeing, oh, just do this,
Hmm.
write this type of content, send it to these people, and you're gonna start making $10,000 a month.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people hanging on to that, and it's
Passive
not real.
income, baby.
Passive income.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not realistic. Like
Right.
if you keep working like on that thing,
Yeah.
that outcome for a long time, and you keep moving, and a long time is longer than like 30 days.
Mhm.
It's longer than a year, then you'll start making 10,000 a month and you're from home. You'll figure it out. But I think what happens is a lot of people are set out to achieve that goal or whatever their big hairy goal is
Mm.
and find out right away, relatively quickly, that it's hard. And then they quit and try something else and try something
You know
else.
what? I'll share pretty openly about this too. I think it's a good point. Relative to that point. So, I started, I don't know, like 18 months ago, um, building an audience over on LinkedIn. You and I met during that process through friends and through a class. I had taken a class with Chris Donley over there, and it was learning how to make all these carousels and infographics, and it was great. It was a fabulous. It was a fantastic class, and just learned so much and met a ton of great people. And I mean, I was definitely starting from square one with all of that. But what I realized is that my expectations over the following 12 months, as I built an audience there and came over with Substack, started writing a Substack, and my when I was looking at people who built really quickly and who had said, "Oh, over the last 12 months or 24 months, I built this business that's doing X, six figures, seven figures, whatever it is." The mistake that I made was that the folks I was looking at who had done that were they were in the business of saying, of look at this following that I built, and now I'm going to help you do that. And so it's a great value proposition, right? Because the thing that I want help doing is completely real world validated by what they've done. In me, I mean, it's an awesome business. It's great. I think it's fantastic. But me, I'm an operations and financial business consultant. Like I want to help companies grow EBITDA. I want to look at the underlying unit economics of a business and figure out how to improve that. Okay, well that's not very viral. That's not there aren't 3,000 people who want to sign up for a cohort to do that. Um and and so I've had to take the longer view. And some great things have happened along the way. And with what I do, I can also get larger clients who I can advise and consult to, and that's fantastic too. But I think it's just like looking at where I am now and how I think about this into the future, I want the longest runway possible. I want to be patient, patient, patient. My wife has been unbelievably helpful to me in that way. So we've talked about this. Um, but that was like definitely, I think my expectation, I think in some ways I'm worlds beyond where I thought I would be when I started. And in some ways, I feel like I've moved 5 feet from the starting gate in other ways, and so compared to where I thought I would be. And I just think it's really important. And I also think to your point around balance and really enjoying what you do. I think if you're going to do some of this stuff, you just have to really love doing it and meeting people and creating the content and, doing all that.
Yeah,
You have to
and
have, a-
Steve,
and you have to have a really understanding spouse.
yes, really understanding. Mine is also. I check in with her constantly. Like,
Yeah.
we're doing okay, right? Like,
Yeah.
I say that all the time. But I think it's Steve Jobs talked about that, who was not a great human, but he was a great businessman. And
Yep.
what he said was, and we see these quotes all the time, but it's important to stop sometimes. Like, because when
Mhm.
you're scrolling on your feed or on Google or wherever you see all your memes or quotes or whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
stop it. If you see one that strikes you, like,
Yeah.
stop and reflect on it for a minute.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I did that. The one that kind of shaped all the work that I do is the focus and the vision. And what he
Yes.
said was, he was brilliant. If you go back and listen to Steve Jobs, like from the 80s, he
Oh
was
yeah.
like all the stuff that we talk about in the professional world on LinkedIn or wherever you are.
Hmm.
Um, he was talking about it 40, 50 years ago. And
Sure.
some of his, and like if you listen to old Zig Ziglar stuff,
Hmm.
these guys knew this stuff 50, 60, 70 years ago. Uh,
Sure.
um, Brian Tracy. Like, I love Brian Tracy. He's the best,
Yeah,
right? Like,
absolutely.
I love his attitude. He's just like right in your
Yeah.
face. But these guys had this stuff figured out. And what Steve Jobs said was like, you know, you when you love what you do, you don't have to push so hard. The vision pulls you, and
Mhm,
really need to have a vision. And what he talked about was this: is like, you know, it's gonna get hard, and if you don't love what you do, you're gonna quit. And that's the difference between the people that you see in the top 10, 5, 1%, is that they love what they do. You don't love it every day, all day long, but you
mhm,
have to love it, not just do it because there's a chance of making money. Because what happens is, as I've described, we have to go to level 10 or
mhm,
maybe 20 or
mhm,
whatever. You're at level 1,
mhm,
maybe 2. Some
mhm.
people make it to 5, but right around level 2 or 3, it gets hard,
Yeah,
and most people quit there be
I agree.
because they're not passionate about what you do. He was really passionate person, and he's like, he loved when people said, "No, you can't do that." He's like, "What are you talking about? You're fired. I'm gonna find somebody to do it." And, he
Yeah.
was kind of a tough
True.
human, but what he loved that he was figuring these things out,
Mhm,
and he loved business, and he made the reason, Apple is a whatever $3 trillion company is because they took a really complex idea and
mhm.
they made it simple so that billions of people can do it easily without
Yep.
thinking. Right?
Right.
And that they did, and they loved doing it. So you need to love what you do and have a vision about what you wanna do. You can have multiple visions,
Mhm,
and your vision can change, but you
mhm.
have to have a vision, and it needs to excite you so it pulls you along on the ride.
I agree.
Right? And I think a lot of people have false expectations because they look at a quote unquote influencer. I'm kind of an influencer,
Mhm.
by the numbers I am, but I'm just a dude, who lives by the beach. I'm wearing my boxers right now. I'm just a normal person.
Yeah.
And but if you look at somebody and you compare yourself to them,
Yeah.
you don't know my journey. It was a long ride, and my father, if he's still on here,
Mhm,
will tell you it wasn't a straight line to get to where I am right now. It's
mhm.
been a
Absolutely.
bumpy road. Yeah, so
Absolutely. Dennis, I think it's an amazing place to stop, brother. I actually got to hop. My wife, we got to run out and run a Christmas errand. We got to take care of some Christmas shopping
awesome.
here.
I
But
love that.
thank you everyone for being here. We will be here next Tuesday, 9 o'clock. And I don't maybe Dennis will stay on a little bit here, but thank you. I love your clothes there, man. I couldn't agree more. And I will look forward to seeing you next week. And I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas and uh
I love that.
happy
That's a good
holidays.
quote. That's enough. Yeah, you're good. Anna, do you wanna hop on and talk? Let's see if Anna wants, because I had a great talk with Anna yesterday, and so I wanna see if she wants to talk, and if she doesn't, then that's okay, we can close it up. I know it's a bit, uh, strange to do that. I can send her an invite and see if she wants. Or maybe she's not even listening or even here anymore. But, Anna, love it. And she might not feel comfortable in front of the camera, I don't know. Let's see. But we had a great talk yesterday, and so I don't mind. I mean, I have 20 more minutes, and that's why, but if we don't, we can close it up. Short and punchy is great also. So, Anna, no obligation. I'm happy to close it up. I have a lot of work to do. But anyway, that's something for you guys to think about. If you don't have a vision, I focus a lot of my coaching and all the work that I've been doing over the years is focused on focus. I didn't have focus for a long time or vision. I didn't know what I was doing, so I ended up drinking or distracting myself for decades, right? So it took a long time to figure out what it is I wanted to do, where I want to go, and then I had to learn. Once you figure that out, then have to learn how to get there, and it's hard, So make sure whatever it is that you're working on or consuming is in alignment with who you are and where you wanna go. And if it's not, change. I love helping people understand that. It's like wherever you are right now, and there's a quote, it says, "If you don't like where you are, change. You're not a tree." right? Like a tree is stuck. There's this tree, it builds roots into the ground. It's in the earth. It can't go anywhere. We're not like that. We can do anything you want to do, you can do. We're all born with different circumstances and have different opportunities, and some have no opportunities or whatever. But if you look at some of the richest people and most successful quote unquote people in the world, most of them, most of them came from struggling backgrounds. They came from poverty or very little resources, and they turned that around and they built it into something. They made something out of nothing. Uh, One of my favorite books is Shoe Dog. If you read the Phil Knight story about Nike, it's really interesting. Nike, he's worth, 30, 40 billion dollars or something like that. But he started selling shoes. He bought 6 pairs of shoes in the 60s with he had to scrape together like uh $10 or something. I forget what it was, but they had no money, and he figured out, and he turned Nike into an empire, but he came from nothing. Like all these things, we have to go back. Even Amazon started as a used bookstore. Jeff Bezos started selling used books out of his garage 35 years ago. Like these are long stories that we only see the highlights at the end. So, if there's something you want to do or something that you like dive into it. You don't have to uh, do things that are outside of your expertise, or even if you don't like doing something, stop doing it and find out what you love to do. Find out first, like, what is a goal I have? Well, if your goal is to travel, then you don't need to make like $10 million right now. Yeah, if your goal is to travel, like figure out, where do you want to go? How much does it cost to get there? What do I need to do to make enough money to go there? Right. And what do I need to do now? And then, it's good to have a job. The hot topics are always about entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, leaving corporate culture and stuff like that. But I worked for companies, a couple big companies, and that's where I learned how to do business. And that's where I learned about marketing and branding and sales and all these different things. Oh, hi Anna.
Hi.
I was
Sorry,
just
it's very
talking.
early in New York and snowing.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, John was hopping off early, and I was like, we had such a great talk yesterday, and I don't know anybody. The only other person I know on the chat was my father. My father came, and I didn't even know he was on Substack. So I was
Well,
like,
hi everyone. I just woke up like 15 minutes ago to join live with Dennis.
that's awesome. So how did you uh enjoy our talk? How did you enjoy our talk? I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I always love talking um with people that challenge me to think better and be a better person. So I thought that was a fun talk.
Yeah, it was interesting to listen to the video gaming because my nieces and nephews went through that. And just to listen to the language they're using when they're interacting with other kids, it's just another culture that I'm not accustomed to. So I think the personalities are coming out where they're doing that, although I have a mixed feelings about how much time they spend on the screen versus other activities. So I think it definitely is up to the parents and us to pull them into different things that actually have to do with using different cognitive systems, I guess, they're wired with. But yeah, they're growing up with technology, so you can't really help it.
Yeah, it's a different time and a different world. And I always say, the um 20 years ago, if you had a website, we kind of talked about this yesterday. If you had a website or some sort of technology for your business, that's what set you apart as a business 20 years ago. And now, 20 years later, what sets you apart is having a human connection. And so
Yep.
I think it's great that they're like in India. Do you know that they teach, like in the US, there's a huge, I lived in Colorado for 20 years. There's a huge Indian population. And because Colorado's a big tech town, and
Hmm.
a lot of the Indians come there because they start learning coding and uh, IT systems and stuff in elementary school. And so the U.S. was bringing Indians into the tech center because they pay them half the salaries. If you're paying a tech person 200 grand a year, you could pay somebody from India 100 grand a year, which is a massive salary to them, and is huge savings for the company. So it's good that we're learning tech and the kids are learning how to use the technology, but then we're forgetting humanness. So we kind of did a full flip, and then we have to go back to the B word, balance, right? So where can we, yes, of course, the kids need to learn technology. They need to know how to use all these new systems and AI, of course, like all these things they need to learn. But can you manage an argument with your spouse? Yeah, or can you even find a spouse and go out and communicate with somebody and build a partnership? Like that's hard.
Yeah, that's gonna be challenging. I mean, I think I would like to see more people focusing on that. I think we kind of scratch Gen Z and Gen Alpha because we're focusing on AI and what's happening right now. I think Gen Z is a huge, they just have bad rep, and I don't agree with it. Like, I think they have so much to bring to us and teach us how to interact with them to begin with. And Gen Alpha, they're just so much smarter. Like, I don't remember being that smart when I was 13 years old. Like, I don't even know. I mean, I can have more educated conversations with them sometimes than somebody at my age. I mean, maybe it's an overstatement, but they definitely grow up with a little bit more sophistication and access to stuff I haven't, and I think you didn't either. Like, I mean, I remember I was waiting for the magazine to come in the mail once a mile to open up and, flip through the pages, and that was it. And we were collecting CDs, and that sounds like decades ago. So yeah, it's very interesting what they're gonna bring to the world and how they're gonna interact with what we're trying to grasp and learn as we go.
What is I've not heard Gen Alpha. What is that age? Is that teens right now? I haven't heard that term.
Well, that's how actually my partner's daughter calls herself. She doesn't call herself American. She's a New Yorker, and she also doesn't call herself anything else except for Gen Alpha. And she knows exactly the ages of every single generations already. Like, they know the brackets.
Interesting.
It's Yeah.
And so she's 13.
She just
Yeah.
turned 13.
And so what is her like so what does she love to do? Is she out? Is she balanced? Like, well, I shouldn't say balanced. I don't know what the word is. It's like she communicating with people and using technology. Is she like consumed by AI and Instagram Reels and TikTok, or is she talking to people? Like, I think it, that's the problem. Is the excess? None of these things are a problem. They're all great to enhance our lives as humans, but the excess is always the problem with anything. Now,
Yeah.
crystal meth is a problem at any level, but most things that we're talking about, excess is
Yeah.
the yeah.
So she went through different stages, and I think right now she's going back to gaming a little bit more. But there was a period when she was totally obsessed with rock climbing and ping pong. So that was her thing. And, it's hard in the wintertime in New York. You don't really have, like, let's go to the beach or anything like that. You have to do the best of it growing up in a huge city. But she definitely uses AI. She runs things through it in addition to running things through her friends. And then she comes to parents saying, here is what I want to do. Very educated. But she could be different from different kids. I don't know. But there is definitely the struggle when she sits way too much on the screen, and definitely there are constraints that we're trying to put with her. But there's a pushback, and
Of
but
course.
we're trying to have a conversations over meals. Like, that's very non-negotiable and important. So I don't know. I don't know what the balance is. I think you were talking with John. There is really no balance. It's just, if it were like John, he would just focus on the screen at that age. I don't know. It's very hard to relate to what they're doing. But look at us, like, we're sitting on the screens as well. We're just talking to each other on the screens. I mean, it's a different interaction, but we're doing the same thing.
Yeah, they're socializing involved, but I think there's still a humanness, and then I also think that what you said is right. I mean, there's a responsibility as a parent or whatever, guardian, authority figure to maybe transform that. I mean, first of all, maybe it's not a problem. Maybe she's really intelligent and going through, like, there's phases that we need to go through and figure things out ourselves and grow and learn and feel pain and stuff like that. Like, I understand all of that because we don't grow without struggle. I mean, it's just human nature. Like, if you have enough money in the bank and the relationship's good and there's no health problems, why change? Right? So the challenges uh, become our teachers. Like, they teach us how to become better. But I think that there's also, like, having awareness as an older person that we can share with them, be like, if maybe if you try this, like, you can have this outcome. Like, what I'm trying to share, because in my opinion, I don't want to make this a Substack conversation, but in my opinion, it's a unique opportunity right now with Substack. I think it's a good growth opportunity for people to, I mean, if you have an idea and you're fairly intelligent, you could start writing and make a living on a platform writing. Like, that's it. Like, you could write a nice thing, a nice newsletter series, and learn how to use Substack, and you can make a living doing it. Like, it's really cool. And so I
Right.
think, like, teaching a teen, because there's ways for the teen to do this. If you have your parent, I think there might be an age limit, but you might be able to work your way around that. And be like, look, if you start doing this and building a following and audience and start doing this, as a teenager, if you do this for the next year or two, you could be making 100 grand a year writing, and then
Yeah,
doing.
they definitely know the value of money much better than what I could probably know at their age. She definitely knows, you know, this costs that, and like if I give her $60, she's like in a seven heaven. For her, it's like, okay, I can go on Roblox and buy X, Y, and Z. That's like the exchange. But she also knows the value, which is pretty interesting. So I don't know where she gets that from. I probably will ask her more about it because, I think that's important. She's also very bored with school. I don't think school is challenging for her. So she's trying to get her mind somewhere else. And I think that's the problem. She just changed schools to more technical schools. So I guess that will maybe feed her mind with different challenges. But we don't talk about these things often, right? But like the school responsibility is to challenge kids, and she's just like totally bored. I don't know about the curriculum at the school, but she's not there anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think what fascinates me about that generation is, I feel like I'm catching up versus they're ahead of the game for whatever reason. Or maybe I have this wrong. Like whenever I talk to them, like you are set for success, but at the same time, you're entering a very difficult environment. We don't know what's going to happen to global warming. We don't know what's going to happen to other things. We don't know how her brain will develop with technology that she's using right now, right? Like we know the data, we know statistics, we know research. It's not good to be on a phone, and it's not good to be on a screen all the time. It definitely affects us.
It does. Yeah. Well, all of these things are designed to steal your attention, which is finite. Like, and I think we talked about this yesterday also, is like there's so much stuff out there. Everything you do, everything is a path to marketing. It's a path to dollars. So whether you're looking on your phone or watching a news show, it's not news, it's a news show. Anyway, that's a different conversation. But everything that you do, even driving, there's like billboards, like everything you do is a path to marketing. And everything's designed to steal your attention. So if you're awake for 16 hours a day or whatever, like they want your attention to make money. And we do that too as creators. Like when you create content, it's nice. I mean, there's a creative side for us to make content. Wow, this is cool. But at the end, there's a call to action. We want people to do stuff, whatever it is. And so there's everything is designed to steal our attention. And they knew when they were designing this that it's addictive, right? So I mean, it's chemical processes. That's why I'm fascinated with neuroscience. So they know when you see all the little red dots. This is a speech I used to do for when trainings for companies. The little red dots, Facebook started this 15 whatever years ago with Messenger. And there was a little red dot and that said you have a message. And then you're like, somebody loves me. It trips the dopamine sensor in your brain and you want to check it. You're like, what does it mean? What does it mean? It could be a bad message, a good message. It doesn't matter. It's your dopamine is tripped, right? So then they know that. And now if you look on every social media network, there's red dots everywhere. Somebody looked at you, somebody saw your stuff, somebody liked it, somebody shared it, somebody did this and like all these things, red dots. So we're like rats in an experiment, drooling all day long. We're physically addicted to the phone. And if you
Yeah.
don't, if you're not aware of this, then you just end up being consumed all day. Video games are dopamine like on steroids. So what it does is it steals your life away. That's when it becomes a problem. So I mean, as kids, I don't think they have that awareness. Obviously, most don't, and that's our responsibility as parents.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's so interesting. And also, like being mad at not seeing a response within 6 minutes. People get so wired up about not hearing back. Somebody likes your post, you expect a message right away or a comment. So, that kind of chase of validation, I guess.
yes, that's why it needs to come from within,
Yeah.
100%. But it's like that goes back to the mindfulness thing. So it's like it's so important. This is another speech I used to do called The Real World for anybody who's listening. We still have 16 people here, which is cool, but I have to go in 5 minutes. Anyway.
Well, you just pulled me unexpectedly, so I'm just hanging out now. Let's make it 5 minutes and be mindful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I used to do this talk called The Real World. And everybody, if you go on vacation, maybe you go on vacation for 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks maybe. And at the end of the vacation, everybody says the same thing. Oh, it's back to the real world tomorrow. But that's not the real world. That's the world that has you stressed out and full of fear and insecurity and anxiety and all this stress. So you have to like do all these distractions and take Xanax or whatever it is to numb yourself out just so you can go to this job or do whatever you need to do so you can save money to go back to the real world. To the real world for a week, another 5, 7, or 10 days to calm down before you go back to the crazy world that's making you sick. So what I did was I moved to the real world. And so it's so important to put yourself in nature. Now, I live at the beach, but some people don't like the beach. It doesn't matter. Go to the mountains, the lake, the river. Take your shoes off and put your feet in the grass at the park. Find a park to go to. Like you have to go outside. Snow is fine. You're not going to die in the snow. Most of us. I mean, if you're homeless laying in the snow for 2 days, that's a problem. But for the most part, we need to go outside and
Yeah.
breathe fresh air. We're not meant to live like if you think about it. I mean, we can get into the whole grounding thing, putting your feet in the ground, earthing, whatever they call it
Oh, I
now.
love that. I'm like obsessed with that. I think connecting with the nature is one of the most recharging things that we overlook. Even when you live in a big city, I mean, just to like walk around and pay attention to the color of the leaves on the, trees instead of walking and overthinking whatever you need to do next. Like just those kind of small moments to put yourself in the present. Like I'm obsessed with it. Like we can have another conversation about that again.
Sure, I would love that. That's great, and it's so true. We can make that the focus of the whole talk. It's like you ever know when you go on those vacations, especially if you live in a city like you're in New York City. It's like as soon as you get to those places, the real world, I call it, because that's the world, where we belong. So as soon as you get there, you calm down. You're like, wow, look at that. Oh, and then you look at the tree, you look at the water, you look at the sky. If you're with skyscrapers, sometimes you don't see the sky. It's crazy. And we need to calm down. That's the whole thing. It's not that the technology is bad, it's the overconsumption, it's the
Yeah.
excess. And if you're not aware that it's designed to steal your attention and keep you there, then you get sick. It's making you sick. That's the problem.
Look at your tone, how you slow down when you actually think about nature, right? Like
Yeah.
your entire voice is different. Like we now tuning in and really thinking about stuff that's supposed to be our environment, right? Like we
Our
live on the
natural
planet
state.
Earth. Yeah, exactly. But just, to build on your vacation, I remember when I was leaving corporate, I was asked, why don't you just take vacation? And I'm like, that's not going to cut it. That's not what I'm looking for. And people just couldn't comprehend that. And I'm like, vacation is not going to fix anything here. Like, I want my life to be X, and that's what I'm going for. So, yeah, very interesting. Thanks for bringing me in.
Yeah. And thanks for hopping on. I know, like, I was like, and I knew John would have to go. And sometimes these are good to be short and punchy. It's good to have 20 or 30-minute ones, but it's Christmas. I think, it's funny. Yesterday I had to, because I met with you, and then I had another one, and then I'm used to going all the time, and I love it. And I drink a lot of coffee, and like I go and I enjoy my life and all the things that I do. But um last night, we went and had tacos last night because we live in Mexico, the taco capital of the world. And we went to our favorite taco place, and I was just like, "Oh, we're flying up to Boston tomorrow to see my brother for the week," and it's like it's Christmas. So everybody that's listening, even if you don't like, not every country even celebrates Christmas, and but so what? Just like calm down. Enjoy a few moments. Remember the mindfulness thing, right? It was like a comedian I got that from, but I've been consumed with the whole concept. When we were growing up, everything was mindfulness. Everything we did, like when you poop, you sit on the toilet. There wasn't, Tetris or whatever it is you're playing. We read the shampoo bottle, we counted the tiles in the floor, the ceiling. Like you were just present. For everything that we did was mindful. There was no other choice. And so now there's no mindfulness. And so if you're constantly consuming these things with our brain, which is capable, but not disciplined yet to pull yourself out of it. So it's like if you don't have the awareness, which most people don't, then they're getting consumed by whatever it is you're looking at, whether it's a video game or politics or whatever you're doing. They make it so emotional and so hard to pull yourself out of. And you think
Yeah.
it's reality. It's not reality. So reality is the real world. Go outside.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to go on around with AI, but like I'm hopeful that one of the good things about it is people will go back to thinking about themselves a little bit more when they don't have the access of everything else. But we are at the time, and everyone who joined, thanks so much. Have a great holidays and bring the hat. It's snowing up north.
Yeah, I have like 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, no problem. But yes, and thank you. It was nice to be able to chat with you again. We'll do it again soon. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and have a Merry Christmas, Hanukkah. My family does Hanukkah too, and whatever it is you celebrate, make it count, and talk to you soon.
Okay, great. Bye,
Adios.
Dennis.